Hey, all you truth seekers out there, this is Robert Bingham, the summoner, with a show strictly out of the box. So wake up, smell the coffee, and know what time it is. It's a minute to midnight. We got a great guest. Her name is Mary Alyce Nyquist, and she has some great stories to talk to us about, to feed us, to enlighten us. So hi, Mary, how are you?
Hi, so good to see you, Robert.
Yes.
I'm doing really well.
Great. I'd like to ask you, Mary, what is explain to the listeners out there what you want to share with them, because you have so much to share. Can you start off, like, what is the greatest thing that you want to express?
The greatest thing I want to express is that we only see it such a small amount in this realm, that when we truly can sit back and listen and allow our sight to soften, we are able to hear other realms coming through. Some people call it devas, some people call it angels. It's many different names for the same thing. I'm not a religious person, but I thrive on spirituality, and some very amazing experiences have happened to me in Vipassana meditation retreats, in the forests, sitting alone. Usually things happen to me when I'm alone, and I'm very grateful for the experiences that I've had. It's a great life.
Can you share some of the experiences
And
that you've had?
Okay, well, one time I was up in the Santa Cruz Mountains, and I was in a 10-day meditation retreat, which was completely silent and nobody is looking at each other. That's Vipassana. You just are with your breath, and that's all. So this is 4, 5, 6 days into it, and I keep hearing behind me this whispering, psh, 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 and I'm looking behind me like I'm going, who's whispering back there? I look behind and everybody's sitting as still as can be. It happened again. I look behind me, everybody's sitting still. The next time I hear this whispering, I stay still and I go deeper within. And I hear the devas and the angels going, wake the cook, get the cook up so he can make tea. Get the teacher to ring the bell so all the students can go and have break. And they were running the entire retreat. And I sat back and I listened and I watched. This was a part of me that I had never accessed before. So you can imagine the depth and profoundness that brought to me. It made me understand how when we walk and we bless the circle before we go and we sit, that we're bringing in the positive energies. We're protecting ourselves from the negative, if you will, and bringing in just the positive. That was one experience that happened to me in my 30s.
That's a very nice.
Others out on the farm. I was raised in Montana, and I would see people out in the trees, and I thought, well, we're so far out in the middle of nowhere, who could be walking out here? And at that point, I was thinking, these people aren't from here. And that was my first experience with, I believe, ETs were coming to visit. And they never talked to me at that time. They would come in and then they would disappear.
So they were just observing and interacting with you telepathically, right?
Yes, the one that really, in my 20s, after I left the Montana area and came out to the West Coast, I found it extraordinary, the telepathic communication that was happening with these two, maybe 4 foot tall men that looked like they were like leprechauns, and they came out from behind a bush. I don't claim to know if there was a portal there or anything else, but they came out and they helped me go ahead and have a woman friend lie down, and they were going to work on her because she was in such extraordinary grief. And as I'm sitting next to her, they telepathed me, and they said, as a healer, your main job is to just hold the space for unconditional love. And they continued to work with her and work with me. And after, time stood still, after a period of time, they got up, didn't say anything, and they just completely disappeared. I went behind the vehicle to see where they went, and nobody was there. That was the one that of holding the space for unconditional love. Like, we really don't have to do anything or go anywhere.
Really?
We can bring, like what you do with this.
Right. I become a conduit, and I plug into the energy of God. And I think that's what most of us have to do, and it's similar. Wow, that's awesome. We can do anything with love. Go ahead, Mary.
We are the love. And being in the forest, I think we're reminded of our true nature. Being out of the city, we hook into ourselves sometimes more deeply, more quickly, because we don't hear, we're not distracted, you know? And so that way we hear whatever is coming to us on another sense, another level.
Right, we have...
It's been extraordinary to...
Go ahead.
Right, we have this power within us, like we were speaking the other night, this conviction. The conviction is being with ourselves and knowing that we belong, that we're not a stranger. We're not a stranger to ourselves, nor are we a stranger to others around us.
Exactly.
We're here for purpose. We've known each other before, and we are here to work with each other.
And that's exactly right. That's the way I feel. That's awesome.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
We have so much to do, and we have so much within us.
Yeah.
Most people do not understand that, but they have to understand that they were given all these abilities when they were born. And when God created us, or the Creator created us, He gave us all those abilities. But nobody's, we weren't taught that in church or the schools. And so it's necessary for you and I and others to show, to inform people what they truly are made of and what they can really do.
Yes. Because it can be very confusing for people that can get too far into religion because there's too much guilt and shame. And so then there's no way to earn love. You can't earn it. There's nothing to earn. We've already earned it. We came in with these gifts.
Right. We are children of the Creator, and therefore we do have the abilities, attributes, you might say, of our Father, or the Creator. And we could do anything, really, anything.
When I first started out, I started just with myself. I wasn't trying to go anywhere else, but just to, like, I would focus in on just one part of myself and just watch it change. So I wasn't trying to change the world. I was just observing myself to sharpen the tool of the mind, sharpen the tool of awareness through observation, rather than trying to do something or change something outside. I think our true gift is to be that vibration of unconditional love. Just to be, we draw to us like a magnet what is truly meant to be peace on earth.
Correct. Yeah, that is so true. You know, I don't know if I shared this story with you. There was one instance where I was working, and I was watching this the equipment on a TV show. But we were downtown LA, and I saw this pristine bubble on my left side. And I looked at it, and it wasn't a normal bubble that like a soap bubble. But it was a beautiful crystal-looking pristine bubble. And I'm looking at it, and I know it's looking at me, and I realize that it's intelligent. And I'm just looking at it, but it was vibrating all around the bubble. It was vibrating at a frequency. And just like you said, it's a frequency. And so I tried to touch it, and it just went above where I couldn't reach it, and observed me for a while longer, yeah. And then it left. But I did observe that frequency on the bubble. And I thought I discovered something that hadn't been discovered yet. And so I was watching George Adamski. He was back in the early 50s and 60s. He had a Super 8 camera that he took film with. And he took a black and white film footage of this bubble. And I have to, he discovered it back in the 60s. And I give my hats off to him. But I got to see it, though. And, it's all frequency.
Well, may I say that what you're talking about, this elusiveness, is that we become comfortable with the elusive. We become comfortable with the change. We become comfortable with it appears and disappears and appears and disappears before us. Because that is how the veil disappears. And as it disappears, we're able to see more. And then it doesn't stay open all the time for all of us.
Yeah.
We're opening gradually. I mean, if it all opened all the way for us, we'd probably be stunned.
Well, I think you would be damaged more than anything.
Yes.
The government that works on things in portal travel and dimensional travel, they put these soldiers through rigorous training, but sometimes they rush the soldier through this because they do send them into dimensions where they're doing other things. But sometimes the soldier sees things out there and they become permanently traumatized and they end up in the VA psych ward. Because I've been in the psych ward, I worked at the VA. So that's what happens sometimes.
You saw that.
When you see too much and too soon. My thing too is that we have to be watered, and we have to be watered at a proper time, not overwatered, but just what I mean by watered is exposed to those things. We can't be rushed. And then that's how we grow, right?
That's how we grow. And how I've been able to grow is to just keep plugging away at meditating, keep plugging away at being still with myself and finding that non-reactive place in me so I can observe this life and not react to it. As soon as I react, then I change course, and I don't want to change course. I like the course I'm on. And so it's the same with Sasquatch. The Bigfoot will come and it'll go away, and people are trying to get pictures of it, trying to hear it, trying to get the hair, trying to get a body, but it's an interdimensional being. So this Sasquatch, the Bigfoot, is going to give you gifts. They're meant for you if you see a footprint. It's meant for you if you get a glimpse of them, to give you more and more courage and love to go forward, but not to capture anything. We don't need to capture or anything else. We need to just keep going in that vibration of love.
With a good heart and good intentions, right? That's what we need to do, have good intentions.
Yes. I remember one time I had a salamander frightened me, and I jumped 3 feet up in the air, and I came down, and I was like, I saw the little salamander, and he was all frightened. So I started saying, I love you. I love you. I'm so sorry. Please forgive me. And I could see him just softening and softening and softening. And then he would come up a little bit, and he looked at me, and then Sasquatch came and said, yes. And he filled my heart with this huge vibration of love. It was deeper than anything I had experienced. It was sudden and whole. And he just filled my heart and said, that's what I'm talking about, having compassion for those, not having fear, letting go of every ounce of fear in your body. And Sasquatch is a very interesting concept. It's he's come more than once to me. Once out when we were riding out in the wilderness, my girlfriend and I had our horses and our pack horse, and he said, I want you to go into your tent, and I want you to just completely let go of all fear, every ounce of fear in every cell of your body. So I was so happy I got my assignment. I went into my tent, and 4 hours later I woke up, and my head was in the lap of an animal outside of the tent. This animal was snuggled up, and I thought, what could that be? Could it be a shape-shifting Sasquatch that maybe used a coyote or something to come and snuggle up and give me that warmth and comfort? Because as we do our work, stranger things than that have happened to people. This is just one example of how our reality can be shifted at any moment. I mean, I live to have my mind blown.
Oh, wow. Yes. I'm always looking forward to something new. Always. And they always surprise me with something.
Yes.
And I'm always waiting to see, what do you guys have up next to show me? And they show me.
Yes.
And can you tell me?
Some of the most.
Go ahead, Mary. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, some of the most amazing starships that you've shown in your videos, their shapes and how they've occurred to you is things that I have not seen. And there is, I believe, a connection between the ET and Sasquatch. And many believe this. Many are seeing this more and more, how portals, how different areas are ripe with growth. And anytime I can have a glimpse of that, I'm all in. I'm all in. I'm pretty much more introverted these days. I don't go out into large groups as much. I just find it's easier for me to maintain that place in my heart and keep myself open. But I'm just so happy to be here with you tonight, Robert.
Oh, I'm so happy you're here. And can you share any other things that we need to know, truth seekers, about fairies and things like that?
Well,
I heard you speak about them before.
I'm a gardener, and I love the earth. And I think that the fairies know that I like to have my hands in the dirt, and I love to listen to the trees. So one day I'm out on my back porch, and it was very still. And the most beautiful symphony was played for me. The strings of the harp were the strings on the peas. Every rock had a sound that became part of the orchestra. The flowers had a voice. The entire earth came alive in a symphony, more beautiful than any symphony that you hear in a building or people playing violins. But of course, the violin and the cello and the flute, everything was there in nature. And as fast as it started, is as quickly as it ended. It left me in such a space inside of gratefulness, and the value of this earth became so apparent to me that we really have to take care of her. We have to save her. She's alive. She's alive. And for her to sing for me and have all of the flowers and the trees, everybody come together and create a symphony, I thought was astounding. It's something that as we still become more still inside, things like this will happen automatically. And faces will appear out of nowhere and talk to us. And well, maybe we're nuts. Maybe we're a little bit crazy, but I'd rather be a little bit crazy, a little bit off, and have these experiences and be able to share with people what happens when you really get still. The illusion of this plane is really just the illusion. Yes. We have plenty of time to work through it and have more experiences.
Exactly. Yeah.
The Sasquatch has been the main character for me lately, because he comes walking through my house, and the whole house will shake when he walks. He's so huge. His spirit is so huge, it will shake. And then he'll go and he'll rattle the silverware drawer, or he's done so many things. He goes with me and he protects me. If one time I left my keys in my door, and I was in a motel over in South Dakota, out on the reservation, and he came and he knocked on that door 3 times, so hard. I thought, oh, I was on the phone with my girlfriend, and she said, what was that? And I said, well, somebody's at my door. And I went and I looked, and nobody was there. And it frightened me. I mean, it frightened me. I went and I got my knives, and I was locking the door, and I was being extra careful. The next morning I get up, I open the door, and there's my keys in the door. and I knew at that point he telepathed me and said, you know, I am here to help you, but you have to also help yourself.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah. With it, you know, that the native people have more information about Sasquatch than we do, but other animals are very sacred for them too, such as the horse. I was in a Winnipeg. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but possibly, you know, is after the sweat lodge, and everybody goes in, and the room is dark. And the priest is in the middle, the chief is in the middle, and he's praying, and the rattles are going and everything. And all of a sudden, I feel this warm air down at my ankle, kind of a sniffing and stuff. And so I'm like, well, I must kind of be in the way. So I shifted myself, and I turned and crossed my leg the other way, and tried to, you know, in case I was in the way. And then all of a sudden, I hear and feel the same up at my neck, like it was a hot breath breathing on my neck. And so afterwards, the medicine man goes, so did anybody have any strange experiences? I said, I did. I had. He said, oh, that's Pony. Pony came. Now this pony will be with you for the rest of your life as your protector. And these are our spirit animals. They come to us, and there's nothing to be afraid of. Once you open yourself to this realm, they come because they feel safe with you.
Exactly. I started to do research on Bigfoot, and to know more about him or them, and the terrestrials brought a baby Bigfoot. He was wrapped around about 6 orbs around him, and his arms were like this. But he must have been like he's bigger than a toddler, but he was about maybe 4 feet, and he was happier than could be, flying through the air with these orbs, carrying them, lifting them past. I took pictures of that, and I put it on YouTube, and I couldn't believe that people it didn't get a big response. but I thought it surely would, but it didn't. But
Well,
that's
because it's
for me.
probably, it's such a few, 0.00001% of people that can hear about this, that have the ears to hear and the heart to listen.
Exactly.
But it's undeniable when you have these experiences.
And
When you have that experience of that baby, you'll never forget it.
I'll never forget it. And there was just confirmation.
No.
It was confirmation. They're saying, yeah, Robert, we are real. And
yes.
So it was really nice that they went through all that to show me. And it was awesome. I could remember that big smile on that big it was like I guess 12 years old. He had all white teeth. Really nice white teeth.
You know, and it's very interesting that when I saw my Sasquatch that protects me, he had the biggest smile on his face too. Yes. And so that tells me they really like for us to be happy. They don't want us to be worried. They want us to put out that vibration of love and happiness. That makes them happy. You know, they're very playful.
And see, people, what they don't understand, they always put it to evil. But it's not. You have to be open and have an open mind, open heart, and observe.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing that.
Well, I'm not saying that maybe like you can't say that all humans are good, nor can you say that all Bigfoot is good. There's not all ETs are friendly. You know, it's a race. It's another race of beings.
Right.
So there's some that I'm sure are very frustrated with humans as our deforestation has happened. I'm sure that there's many that that aren't friendly, but we have been able to bring to us the ones that understand and hear our hearts, so that they can teach us more forgiveness, more compassion, more love, and keep putting that happiness of love out, that vibration. Like what you're saying, that frequency is what heals us and the world.
And the planet, right? And we got, everybody has to be responsible and be better stewards of the planet. You know, that paper might drop, say, oh no, I'll pick it up and dispose of it right, or everything that you're doing.
Yeah.
Have some conscious awareness that if you could do it better without harming the planet.
We were visiting down in Taos, New Mexico at one point a few years back, and I was walking out in the desert with a girlfriend, and we were going to go to these hot springs, and we were walking, and it was at night, and we just both looked at each other and said, you know, we can do this in the morning, and it felt a little bit safer to us. So we started walking back to my car, and we were about 10 feet from the car, and literally out of the blue, this huge portal orb, blue, plasmic, opened up in front of us. We could have jumped into it if we wanted to, but we were so mesmerized by this brilliant, brilliant blue. And it was alive inside. You could see all the way through, but you could see the electricity. You could see that there was movement, and it was alive. And it stayed with us for some time. Maybe, you know how time is, it stands still, but I had never seen anything like that, and it looked like a portal, and it didn't speak, there was no sounds, but I remember you talking at one point, and that's what reminded me of when you were saying these two orbs brought Sasquatch baby down. That's what made me remember that, is this bright, bright blue orb that opened up, and it was, the plasma was kind of moving, and it was probably 2 feet long and maybe a foot or so across. I went back and I Googled blue light of Taos, and I got white buffalo calf woman. And I just, wanted to share that with you because at the time that was such a great blessing.
Oh, sure it is.
Yes, it is. Because
They,
I know you have native blood in you, and it's a very huge blessing to be, included in those blessings as a white woman. I'm very grateful for that.
oh, fantastic. I'm just very mesmerized by all the things that happen out there, that people ask me all the time, are these orbs, are they alive, Robert, or are they robotic? And I tell them that they're all those things. They're made out of nanotechnology. It just goes in many areas. But
they're alive.
They're alive and they're spiritual. And they do have a, when I found out they're alive, you know how I found out they were alive? My car wouldn't start, so I went and got a mechanic. His name is Chewy. And I brought him to my part of town. And I said, my car doesn't start, Chewy. Can you find out what's wrong? So he went and he looked under the hood and he tells me, well, Robert, you're out of gas. Your car doesn't have any gas. But the gas gauge didn't work on that particular car. And so I got this real message or clairvoyance. And it said that there's an orb right on top of us looking down at us. So Chewy's looking at me, and I say this to him. I say, Chewy, my friends are here, and they're looking at us right now. He goes, what? I go, my friends are here, they're looking at us. And he was confused. I can understand why. But I said, when I say look up, when I say turn your head up and look up. So he looked up. I said, now, and we both looked up, and this green orb, we scared it because it jumped back. Almost like a kid that's peeking around the wall, and then you catch him, and he jumps up because he gets scared. Well, he did that. The orb did that. And then it took off. And Chewy was amazed. Matter of fact, he stopped drinking and he started going to church after that.
Okay.
But
okay.
But that's when I realized that they have emotions and that they're alive, because I don't think AI would have jumped and reacted like that.
No, AI doesn't quite have that kind of reaction.
No. And so, yeah, even though I knew they were spiritual, it confirmed it right there when that happened. Like I said, Chewy, till this day, it's altered his life. He's never seen.
Well, and as well as it should, yes. Because this is a rare life that we're in. This is very rare to have a human life in the first place, and we have to take full advantage of it. It's very precious. So if we drink our life away or whatever, we waste this life. And I look at it that way, and I'm not a big drinker.
Oh, I believe me, I drank enough for me and maybe about 4 other people. But I quit 10 years ago. Drinking.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, nice. I think sometimes these ETs, the ships are cloaked, because for me, I saw 3 in a row, but I couldn't see the bodies. I could only see the lights at each end of the triangle. And they would come and go in and out. It's kind of this yellow orb color. And they would come in and then get brighter and more dim. But they traveled in a very auspicious way, like steady, very steady and slowly. And then the bottom light would stretch out like it was going to look at something. a little bit closer. And then it would come back and join the triangle again. And then it would keep going. And I felt their presence looking at me. And I was with a brother from the Northern Cheyenne tribe, and he was playing his water drum. And I almost felt like they came to hear the chanting and the drumming.
Oh, yes. They love the interaction, too.
Yeah.
They love the interaction.
Yeah.
I've taken footage of a fleet, and a few times I've caught a fleet. And what I noticed by observing the footage, a lot of them showed the, certain amount of craft. But if you really look real in detail, you can see a number of them cloaked, but there's a certain difference. There's just a certain difference. So they have a lot more that are cloaked, but they don't want to really frighten people. So, but they come in great numbers.
Well, there you go again. I think that's why I think that from my experience with that, and then my experience of seeing Sasquatch, the time when it filled my heart with the salamander story, I could see the outline. I could see his outline. He was huge. But I could see through it. But there was just enough of a change in the leaves and everything.
Right.
Like that movie, The Terminator, when he's running through.
Exactly.
That's exactly what it was like for me.
And that's exactly how they do it. With that type of cloaking, whatever you want to call it, cloaking or.
Yeah.
But if you really examine it, you'll see that there is that subtle difference, and that there's many more. I took a trip. Can I share this story with you? I took a trip to Machu Picchu a few years ago. And the man that discovered Machu Picchu, his name was Robert Bingham. And I look like a lot like him. But he discovered Machu Picchu. He was I believe he's a professor, and he studied things like, ancient script and stuff like that. And he told a bunch of philanthropists at the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York that he needed funding because he was going to find a lost city in Peru. And a lot of them thought he was really whacked out. But and who really funded him was National Geographic.
Okay.
They funded him, and Kodak funded him.
Okay.
And so he went out there and he found Machu Picchu. But when I went on my own personal expedition, they had a book in the bookstores that said the lost Inca Empire. Well, when I was up there on Machu Picchu, they're not lost at all. They're there. But they're like, they have that cloaking ability. And they also, what happened to them is they went underground. They have a civilization inside the mountains. And so they're very, I took pictures and I saw them. They're very good at camouflage, you might say, chameleon-like. And there was along the side of the mountain, there was a door, but it was a dirt door. It was a square on a cliff of fresh dirt, just like a square. And how was it put there? Everything else was green except this square on a cliff right there. And I told Eva, I said, Eva, look at that. That's a doorway. That's where they're going in and out of that mountain. And I also discovered a pyramid out there. And go ahead.
Maybe those pyramids are the energy source.
Right. Because it's got to be lit down there, right? They have to have some sort of energy. And so I believe that they were prepared for the when the Spaniards came, and they just simply went underground. But they
Well,
had,
I don't blame them.
right, I don't blame them either.
Yeah.
And so,
Well, but you see, underground also can protect us from the electromagnetic energy, can protect us from 5G, can protect us from so many things that are happening on the earth today. There's the trees protect us, and you can live even on the side of a hill dug in.
well,
Better.
I think that's why you went out, you left the city, because of all those energies.
Yeah, I intuitively knew that I needed to be around more trees.
Right, and not getting bombarded by these 5Gs or whatever they have out there. All these wires in the city, all these telephone poles, they're throwing out things that are going right through your body, and it does, you don't really, you're not yourself, because all that stuff is went through you. And
Right.
what I noticed in Beverly Hills, that they don't have any telephone poles and they don't have any wires, and that's
It's all underground.
right, because they know and they can afford not to have that, so they know the importance of not the energies going through you. So
And it only makes sense as we go through the earth changes. I mean, if there were some high winds that came through, which who knows, that something like that definitely could happen. I mean, look at the hurricane right now. Just because we're a bit inland doesn't mean that we wouldn't have really high winds, and all those lines would just be flattened.
right.
So putting them underground only makes sense.
Exactly. And plus, you know, when I was in Beverly Hills, we used to working there quite often, and I was sitting down and I was watching these ants, because I'm a security guard for the movie sets, and I was looking at ants going by, and I had my lunch, and I said, I bet you these are snobbish ants, and they won't eat what I'm going to give them. And I thought about where I grew up. The ants would clobber everything you gave them. They would just simply, you know. So I seen this colony, and I got something good, and I put it in on the trail of these ants, and a few of them went up to it, looked at it, and they just kept going. They did not eat it. I said, wow, I was right. I was right. They probably knew, they were educated ants.
Well, but also, you know, let's mention the GMO. You can put GMO food in front of animals that are starving, and they won't touch it because they know it's not food.
Right.
They just won't touch it. So if it's not good food, if it's not, I'm not saying that yours wasn't. I'm just saying that I thought of that as you were speaking, that animals won't touch some food, like corn. Some of the corn, many of the foods now are GMO, but the animals are smarter than humans.
Oh, yeah.
You know, they can smell it.
They sure can. You know,
But
yeah,
we're
go ahead, Mary.
humans have gotten hoodwinked.
Yeah, they sure have. So I did, you know, I made that discovery, and I you know, I in Beverly Hills, it's different. You know, I used to, like I said in my past,
Right.
I lived in Beverly Hills. I owned Beverly Hills in my last past life. But anyway, what I wanted to say is, what was on my mind? Oh, well, you continue. What else? Come on. What can you share? Share with the world.
Okay, let's see. Well, we've talked about orbs, and that's pretty. We talked about fairies, because fairies are real as well. Fairies have come and helped with the garden. You know the story of Finhorn. Finhorn was the one of the first places that actually acknowledged that fairies existed and helped the earth. And they're here. They're here. I get little lights that go flitting by. And one of the last times that little light landed on my shoulder, and I had to go run an errand, and it said to me, now don't forget your paperwork when you go to the bank. And by golly, she was right. It was just a whisper, but she landed right here, and she told me she was helping. There, we have helpers out there. We're not alone. We're
Yes.
not alone. Maybe our families, you know, our original family here on Earth is not the ones that help us, but our family of a different level is here with us all the time.
Oh, they are. They are. Eva Garcia, she used to tell me about things, you know, and I would be driving the car and she'd be sitting on the passenger side and she'd say, it's quiet. And I'd go, what? What's going on, Eva? I'm talking to your mom right now.
Yeah.
And then she'd tell me, oh, now I'm talking to your brother.
Oh.
And then she'd tell me, you know, and I would say, I'll tell them I said hi and everything. And it would be kind of like shocking. That was kind of shocking for me a little bit. But she told me that they were in, my brother was in school. And
yeah,
my mom was deaf and mute, but now she could talk and hear. And she would tell me things like that. And so I learned a lot from her. And she used to tell me about fairies. We used to go walking through the Royal, and they have riverbanks, and they would have mud things. And she would say, see right here, Robert? These are the mud, you see those holes in there? These are like condos for the fairies. And I would see things come in and out of there. And, you know, so I learned a lot from her about that stuff. And I find that she was right.
Well, they have places in Ireland where they keep this alive. They do offerings for fairies over in Ireland and Scotland still. Mm-hmm. You know, it's known, you know, that we just have lost some of our truths. We got really kind of serious over here.
Well, I try not to be too serious.
Well, colonialism took a lot of our things away. You know, the women were burned at the stake.
And, witch hunts and stuff.
Yeah, you know, but if we just step back and look and listen, then we come back in touch with it, and they're just waiting to communicate with us.
Exactly, that's all they're waiting for. I hear little footsteps running around sometimes, and I hear somebody knock on my door, and I'll go answer. Nobody's there, and things like that.
Right.
My side peripheral vision, I'll see somebody, and I just, you know, I tell them, well, you take care of me, and I'll take care of your place, because they're the building, they've been here for, and they seem to understand that. We got a lot to learn, right? So much to learn.
Yes, we do. But the more we talk about it, the more memories come, and the more they love that. They love it that we're talking about all of this evening. They love it that we have the courage to step forth and talk about it, because there's so many more species. You know, our mind is only hooked into 10% of what we could actually see.
Oh,
maybe 10%. So we have to really work at opening up the pineal gland. We have to really work at opening up the layers in front of us so that we can be, you know, I don't mean leaders in that sense, but we can, so that we can be speakers.
Teachers too, of the truth.
Yes.
You know that I did a video called the Strand, and for all you listeners, you can go to that video on UFO Robert Bingham, and it's a Strand. And my belief is before the Anunnaki took that strand away from us, we lived 1,000 years, and we did acquire almost 100% of our brain power. So we became quite, you know, maybe it happened too soon, and that's why they took it away, because we got carried away with technology or whatever. I wouldn't know. But
Mm-hmm.
I asked the terrestrials for the Strand back, and I got a video of it. And I believe that if we did live 1,000 years, um, by having that Strand, um, we could really do anything. I mean, really, I believe we can do it now. But with that Strand back, we could really acquire the time and the effort to get where we're going.
Well, we would become quantum human.
Yeah, exactly. That's the proper word.
Exactly.
Quantum. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, but we're still human. We're having this human being. We're having a spiritual experience here, but having a quantum, then we're multifaceted then, and we can check into different timelines all at the same time. And then there is no time or space. We are all of it. And just think of how rich and healing that could be for everybody.
You
We
know
wouldn't
what?
be worried about our utilities. We wouldn't be worried about this. This would all be taken care of, and it would be free energy.
And we wouldn't be worried about time. You
No.
know, what always comes to me since I started getting aware of everything is that there's this saying that always comes to me that time and space is irrelevant.
Yes.
And it will be irrelevant, time and space, because
Yes.
we'll be everywhere and everything. Almost,
Yes.
yeah, so that's what comes.
Well, I remember this one meditation teacher, she would say to us, okay, come to sitting. Or she would say, which would be, you know, bring your attention to your bottom where it touches the ground. Or one time she said, okay, come to the top of your head. And one time when she said, come to the top of your head, I realized I was already there.
That's pretty good. But being focused, she's trying to teach people how to be focused, right? And yeah, most people, I mean, unfortunately, are distracted by television or music or cigarettes or whatever other things. But
Right.
the time to
Right.
just sit still and be focused. We'll see a lot.
Be still and be focused. Use this. And when my first brother died, I cried and cried, and I said, oh my goodness, honey, what am I going to do without you? You know, he was my big brother. I went to him for so many things, and he was a Tibetan scholar. And he said, what you're going to do is you're going to live this precious life. And remember, this is your precious life. And I took that to heart. And so for all of your listeners to know that we don't have time to waste. This is a very precious time that we're in now. And whatever you do goes out to many, and whatever the next person does goes out to many. And it's kind of like the dominoes, the cascading effect, the drop, just a drop of kindness, just a drop of love will cascade out, and more people will feel it. And we will have peace on earth.
Yes, I call it the ripple effect. It's the ripple effect. Can I share a poem with you?
Please do.
And it's about love. I call it Love Undefined. I don't know if I shared it with you before. But I wrote a few poems, and this one, I guess, is a time where I'll share this stuff. Love is the beacon that shines throughout the universe. Love is the water that cascades from the heaven upon every living thing. Love is two people joining to make one. Love is the word that can never be undone. Love is like wine, it gets better with time. And love is a word that can never be defined. Love can be as soft as a rose petal, and at times as hard as metal. So my friend, find love, use it, don't abuse it, and live. That's my poem of love.
Oh, thank you so much, Robert. That was so beautiful.
You're welcome.
That sums it up. That sums it up. To keep that presence alive.
Exactly. And it's very
Don't ever question it.
right.
Yeah.
So I think we have been talking, we'll close this and we'll have you on again to share some more. And all you listeners, this is Mary Alyce Nyquist. Who's,
Thank you, Robert.
You're welcome. Namaste.
All right.
And
Namaste.
yes.
Okay. Bye, everybody. Have a wonderful evening and a peaceful life.
Thank you, Mary.
Bye.
Bye-bye.